good afternoon, good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are in the world. When it's storm on the ocean, the bubbles on the surface are gonna keep pumping up from the below. And when those bubbles comes up and they are breaking, you're gonna get foam and it's gonna go over all over the ocean. That's the way it is in life. When the lies bubbling up and you punch hole in them, you get clarity. And you finally get to hear the truth, what's really happened. And now it's time for me to finally tell one of the stories I had from my life about my little girl when she was 4 years old. She had a big scar in her forehead. And yesterday I get to hear a couple of different versions who've been said about that from back then, a 12-year girl, 12 years old girl, a girl who was lying about everything, a girl with ODD, a girl who isn't innocent, but she knows the art of lying, she knows the art of brainwashing, and she knows the art of doing everything in the purpose of gaining her own will. And the most funny part of this is that the only one who really knows the real truth, she never ever, until yesterday, got the question of what's really happened. And before I even told the story, I got to hear the different kind of versions of what that today 21 years old, back then 12 years old girl, have lied about over the years. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see how you can become such a good liar. But I take accountability for everything of this, because at the time when this happened, I was educating myself as a personal and business coach. And I had teachers as Tony Robbins, Pamela Hendricks, and Brendan Bessard. And that they are people who know how to achieve leadership, how know to, for instance, Tony Robbins know how to change your whole nervous system to stop smoking or doing things like that. And my 12-year-old girl back then, she did speak American. She have done that all her life. She's very good in English. So she did hear everything I did on the computer. All those conferences, all those hours of education. And she learned. And she used it for her own gain in every kind of way. Nowadays, I even can answer why I think she did all of this. I know I said it back then too, but nobody listened. Nobody here heard me. Nobody did ever even try to ask what it was, because I was always wrong. And the reason is simple. She wanted her mother by herself. She didn't want siblings. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. So, in her own way of showing how much she hated it, she did hurt her siblings in one or another way. And then later on, she used it so. She was one of 3 persons who helped. 2 persons helped her to get me to lose my children. And now to the biggest thinking. I don't think none of anybody of those people I have had who is not so nice. And there are a couple of them. I don't think any one of them even thought that I would be feeling so good today. And for all of you who are watching, who knew who you are, who have helped me the last couple of 1 year and a couple of months, who have been there for me, who have asked me, especially one of you, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do love you, every one of you, so much. But it really hurts me. It hurts me to know that people can lie so much. And if she would be a criminal, she probably could have the capacity, I think it's called, to get away with everything. She's the goodest liar of them all. But one day, going to bite your ass. And that day, you don't want to be a part of it. Just a thought. And before I tell you the real story, I'm going to tell you what she has said about this happening when she was 12 years and my girl who did get hurt was only 4 years old. And my oldest girl, her version of this is a lot of them, but I'm going to take 2 of them. Number 1 that she have stick to over the years is that my little girl was this one was for everybody around, every grown-up. My little girl, she fall from a small children chair, a Disney pink small children chair, and she hurted herself. But to my son and to my little girl, which I'm going to come into later, she have told them that my girl fall from a big high bed, and not an ordinary bed, a high bed. And the lie doesn't stop there, because later on she changed that story. And then she told everybody that the children's father were running in with our girl, in a big stick, or don't know what to call it, with a lamp on it. And I can even take up a few more lies, what she have changed the story to be over the years. But I'm going to tell you my story now. And I'm going to tell you what really happened. Because you see, when my girl who was hurt was 4 years old, she couldn't speak. She had a language that wasn't the best. And she couldn't say some letters like B, V, P, S. and a couple of more of them. And if you pronounce push in Swedish, it's going to be utta. And my girl couldn't say P. So it became utta. Like you take push and pick away the P and just say the rest of the word. And she couldn't even say the name of her big sister because she couldn't say the first letter of that name. So she always took away the first letter. So when she came out of the room with a big scar on her head, it was deep and the blood was pumping out. She was crawling up in me and I was grabbing the first thing I could get to push in her forehead so the blood stopped coming. And she whispered in my ear her big sister's name without the first letter. And she also said utta, push without a P, because it's a P in Swedish too. And I remember it so much because she kept repeating that in my ear over and over again. And I asked her about I think I asked her about 4 or 5 times if her big sister had pushed her. And she said yes. And I asked her a few times if she had done that from that pink Disney children's chair. And she said yes. And the reason why I think my oldest girl did this, it's easy. Because about 30 minutes before that, my oldest girl, who did push her little sister, she had started to nag at me because she couldn't have candy. She was screaming in all the apartment, "Mommy, can I get candy? Mommy, can I eat candy? Mommy, can I eat candy?" And when I said no, because it was on Saturday, she started to do that the same, exact the same to her stepfather, the other children's father, my ex-husband. And he said no too. And he was standing in the kitchen and dishes, and he had a long conversation with our son, who was 6 by the time. And this conversation they have was about some science thing, baba, because my son has always been a guy who was interested in things like that. But the most interesting part is what happened after this, because you see, I fixed somebody who could drive them into the hospital. And it was about 4 Swedish miles to the hospital. We lived in Klintehamn by the time. It's down in southern of Gotland. And we didn't have any car, and we didn't have a car, so we couldn't drive myself. And the local bus was not going on the evening. And so I fixed a girl who I know who drove them down to the hospital. And when they were gone, I was taking care of my youngest child, who was 2 by the time, my youngest girl. And now it starts to be interesting because, as I said before, my oldest girl, who was 12, she knew American and she knew English, and she have known English her whole life because we all speak English. And she took her little brother, who was 6, and took him with them in her room. And she was the only child of every one of them who had her own room, because we lived in a small apartment. And she was disappearing with him in there. And I didn't think much of it by the time. And I could hear she was telling stories like fairy tales to him. And he was asking a lot of things. But as usual, as it always been when she doing things like manipulative, I don't know what you say in English, but when she focus on chasing people's stories and leading in them leading them into what she wants. I could hear now I can remember that. I could hear how quiet it was. And when I hear what his story was about all of this, I did understand what she was doing. And later that night when my girl come home, she did exactly the same thing. And a couple of days after, she did exactly the same thing. She gave away a bag with the princess on to my girl, and she fooled my girl that she had get that bag from the hospital. And the lies are so many, so I can't even tell them here, but they are pretty many. And she really brainwashed her siblings. And now the best part of everything. I've talked before about things, emotional age. You know, I've said before many times that we all have two different ages. We have the age of how old we are, and we have the age of the emotional part. And I must say that my two youngest girls really showed me yesterday how grown up they are emotional. Instead of being angry, they started to ask the question of getting awareness. And I'm so proud of them because they started to realize that many of the things they have been told by their big sister, because she has been the only one of me, their father, and her who has had an big opening to get them alone. So the only thing I'm going to say about that is that, yeah, the social fair are going to keep doing that, and the lies are going to keep coming. But one day, karma is going to bite you in the ass. And the day that coming, the real truth is going to come out. And I'm going to keep telling my story here and now. Every time it comes up, I'm going to do a new video like that. And today you even get me without any makeup, anything, because I really don't care. I really don't care. The only thing I'm caring about is that I'm so freaking tired of all those lies. But at the same time, I'm going to keep reminding, do keep lying if you really need to do that. And you are not the only one. As I've said before, this journey has been long, and many, many people are lying about things. Who and what has happened over the years. I'm going to keep telling my story, and I'm going to keep telling it like it was. And today, every time I see people get joy when they meet me, every time I see people get a feeling of goodness, it happened yesterday. I met a girl yesterday, and I spoke for her for a while, and then I went to do the next thing in what I was doing, and she came running up to me again, and she said, you know, I get so happy when I see you. And it shined in her eyes. And every time that happens, I know, I can recall, and I know that my heart feels joy because I see that I have been there for somebody. And that's the only thing that matters for me today. Giving is living, and it's not going to stop. But to give, I need to tell you my stories, and I need to tell you that you can survive even if people have hurt you very, very much. And you can survive, and you can feel happiness. I many times said that I've been so alone, unwilling alone. I can't pronounce it. I willingly alone. It was wrong nowadays too, but yeah, you know what I mean. This last year. But that isn't true. I have had a couple of people around me every time. And every time I felt that I needed them, I have taken my wheelchair and I have gone over there. And they have been there for me every time. They have shown that it is people with hearts, especially one of them. And one day I realized that they have helped me to get the power to feel strong again. So I could change that loneliness to be strength, to be building up my heart again. The only thing that stopped me for a long time, it was that lawyer. He was the only one who stopped me. And he really stopped me with that player mentality, with that devilish mentality. And yes, I do speak in energies. I have always done and I'm always going to do. And therefore, it took very much longer because I couldn't see what was behind all of that. But the day I could, the day I realized that it is a lot of more things behind that, I could start being me again. And I can start believing again. With that said, life is not always easy, but every time I get to press hold in one of those bubbles that the lies have brought with it, I know that I am growing, that I get more abundance. But mostly, I know that my heart can be open so I can be there for others. And that is the only thing that matters. With that said, I'm going to stop here with two things. If you are one of those who are lying about me, the attorney, the woman who stole everything of my things, my oldest daughter, my ex-husband, even my mother. Yeah, I've named every one of you. Keep lying. Keep doing that. Because I'm going to keep telling you my version of the story. And I'm not going to stop. Because I know that it is someone out there who is sitting in the same shit that I have been sitting in, who doesn't know how to defend themselves. But I also know that it is people who are trying to do the life. And when they see me, they get happy. Their eyes are shining. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I love to do it. I love to see people smile. I love to see people feel joy, feel happiness. But mostly I love to see when people feel love. There is nothing so more rewarding than seeing that. But also, as I said to a very beautiful person a couple of days ago, I am the most coward in the world because I'm so afraid that people don't gonna like me. And that is the price I got to pay for all of you who have lied about me, who have hurt me. But one day, I'm going to know that that isn't true, what you told me, what you taught me. So keep lying, keep doing everything of that. But I'm not going to take that anymore. I'm going to keep giving love. I'm going to keep being the one I want to be. So if you haven't heard this today, I do love you. Please like, follow, and do everything of that so I get a little bit more visibility in the YouTube universe. For every one of you who has listened to the end. Thank you. That means a lot to me. And if you haven't heard this today, I do love you all. Bye-bye.